This is a film that was scheduled for 42 days, and it should have taken 90 days. So this is 16, 17-hour days, just getting through the actual wall of nature that we have to cut through just to get to our locations. It's just mind-boggling, and it's taxed me to the max. I can say I can give no more, and it makes me really miss home again. Say, I'm never doing this again. All right, here we are in the village that we carved out of basically a raw jungle. We had gone to this location two times, and having gone up and down river and inland and outland, and having gotten caught in these torrential rains, and our vans bogged down in mud and currents taking us in the wrong direction, we somewhat ended up in this place only because we were looking for something with a bit of elevation. What is odd is this was built originally as the Army's camp, the Burmese colonel's camp, because at this point in the war against the Karen people, the Burmese soldiers always took the highest point to protect themselves and also keep an eye on the surrounding area. It was much to their advantage. So we built the entire camp. The trouble was, as soon as the rains came, there's no way you can get army trucks, equipment, anything up these hills, including cranes. They started to slide down and created some very, very dangerous situations for the workers. So overnight, walked up and said, guess what? Let's just take out all the buildings, the bivouacs, the tents, the military equipment, anything that smacks of the military, and is now the Karen refugee camp. Just switch it on out and try to do as best we can to insinuate that this has been here for many, many years, and it's not a military outpost, it's a Karen refugee home site. And for that, we had to pound in some rice patties and bring in animals and change the huts to bamboo. And this was done like literally overnight. I must say one thing about the Thai worker. It's like having human chainsaws on your staff, because chainsaws, believe it or not, are illegal in Thailand. They consider that a weapon, so everything has to be done by hand, which means machetes, not very sharp axes, elephants, no tractors, no bulldozers. It's all manpower. It's really pretty incredible. Here we go with the men chopping away. It's pretty remarkable how this village is literally carved out of the jungle in a matter of days. If I showed it to you beforehand, you wouldn't have believed it. Literally, it was impenetrable. Pretty extraordinary. Pretty extraordinary. But we started our descent down into the village, and the only thing wrong with it is that give it a fucking corral in the middle of town square.
What about it?
Look at that.
It's great.
No, it's horrible.
It's good.
No, it's not. I had this ongoing joke with the production designer. He decided to put like a herd of cows in the middle of the village, and I thought, it's a good idea, but we're going to blow it up soon, and I doubt anyone would really appreciate having their cows airlifted in a multitude of directions. So I said, please move the animals away. Let's not even establish the animals, because what's coming is going to be hellacious. Anyway, so we're looking up, and this is down on the village, and this is the first time we've actually seen the village through the eyes of the missionaries, being led by Michael, the head missionary, and Sarah, who's played by Julie Benz, as they look down on these unfortunate people, and they plan to bring in a great deal of hope and supply and a healthy dose of religion. Much to their chagrin, their days are numbered, and soon to follow will be the Burmese army. Cut!
That's a cut!
This is day 3 the day the soldiers were going to charge into the village. A day I was looking forward to, but also had great apprehension because this is a reenactment of events that are pretty commonplace in Burma, which is incredible atrocities.
How is it going to blow up to here?
There'll be lots of debris coming out this way. Yeah.
Because
The
I
pots
would
are aimed
want
this way.
probably, I don't know if we can hide a camera here, so you see them, some of them. Now mortar throw shrapnel,
Oh yeah.
so you see some of them strapped out here.
I mean, the thing is, not only do you get shrapnel from the mortar, but whatever it's hit and destroyed becomes shrapnel in its own right as well. So you'll get pieces of all the wood splinters, even microscopic ones. They really fuck with it, you know.
And during the war, World War II, the Karen, a small tribe of farmers, basically threw their allegiance to the Americans and the British against the Japanese, who were backed by the Burmese, who were 99% Buddhist. So when the Karen and the British and the Americans prevailed, they never forgave them. So for the past 62 years or more now, what am I saying? It's even more. The Karen have been getting literally the hell beat out of them, tortured, and systematically removed off the planet because these people don't forget that they were on the losing side. So they're going to make these poor villagers pay for it.
Go, Paul. That's it. Be tough. You got it.
Here we are. We're sitting a lot of the charges, and it's going to be extremely dangerous. And there's going to be a great deal of explosive used to duplicate what is going to happen and what has happened in these villages. Since I feel a responsibility because of what these people have gone through for real and are going through every day, I didn't want to pull any punches. People said Rambo was too violent. I said it actually is even more violent, but I had to be true to the people there. It's a choice you make in a movie. You either do it the way it's supposed to be done or don't do it at all. Because there's nothing like doing something that's like, what is it? Is it a feathered fish? Is it a fish or a bird? What is it? Either you commit to it or don't do it at all. And we committed to this, and it went out. But toward the end of it, I kept teasing Paul, who played the head missionary, because every time the explosions would go off, he would protect himself instead of anyone around him, because just a natural reaction. You know, he's very brave to be there anyway.
That was a major explosion.
Because we kind of skipped.
We're proud of you, Jesus.
That was huge.
Where's Paul? That was huge.
Huge. You felt it all the way
That was
back
a
there.
major thing. I've done some explosions. That's right up there. Jesus. Paul still hasn't come back. There he is. You almost did it. You almost got away with it.
What do you mean?
Well, on the way down, you couldn't help yourself.
Get the fuck out of here.
I'm sorry. You want to hear the truth?
Yes.
Okay. You're running out. You grab the kids. You're doing great. As you're going down the steps, you tried to cover the kid's head. But I know you were thinking about your...
No, I wasn't. It was the kid. Where's Chad? You gotta cover heads.
Here, you did good. You started, you did good. It was good. Want to watch it, Slyer? We good to go?
Yeah,
What do you want to move on to?
We'll do what?
What do you want to move on to? And then we'll watch it. This way you can watch while we move on.
Okay.
He's a hard man.
Yeah, stand by. Take a minute.
Tough. I'd like to say fair. I guess I'll just leave it at tough.
Here we are, day 4. This is a scene that takes place in a village where we have to show the extent of what mortars will do to people, and up close and personal. Again, it gets down to a sense of realism, because a lot of the missionaries that came in there felt as though God is on their side, and so be it, but the mortars aren't. And I wanted to show the damage inflicted on mortars, and we could have done it off screen and be a little bit more, lack of a better term, subtle about it, but this was a moment to actually show the incredible brutality and the fleeting delicacy of life, how you can be on a very, very somber mission, one that is there to bring love and joy, and 2 seconds later, you're thrown into a virtual hell. And the results of that can be quite extraordinary. And I wanted to show it physically. So we had this fellow here, brave stuntman, who's going to be hitting this air trampoline.
If you want to see another one, I can bump that up. I mean, that's very minimal right now. Very minimal. That's like at probably 15% of our max.
I can bump it a little.
Jared, you okay to take it up one more notch?
10 feet.
And by the time he lands, both his legs are gone. And it may only be 5 frames in the movie, but it'll have an indelible effect on just how swift one's fortunes can change. So again, this was a choice to show it without any of the gloss, without any of the heroism, just full-on civil war, neighbor against neighbor, brother against brother, countryman against countryman. For some reason, it escalates into a frenzy of violence that's even more volatile than when fighting a foreign entity. Go figure. This segment here was extraordinarily complex. Chad worked on this. He's this incredible stunt coordinator who put together the men that are going to come perilously close to these extraordinary explosions.
We're going to squib all the villagers. Start. We're going to kill all the villagers. A major tent, they're going to come fleeing, and the tent's going to turn his 50 caliber on them. This is our first wave of Karen villagers. They get forced into rice paddies. And our tent character, the bad guy, is going to hit him with a 50 caliber machine gun and kill about 42 villagers, stunt villagers. It'll be a blast. You'll love it.
And they are for real. If you step on them by accident, you're going to lose an appendage. I know I've come close to it a few times myself.
I'm responsible for blowing stuff up, putting bullet hits into people, and whatever's left burning down to the ground, and we do it for real rather than doing it with digital or CGI effects. Well, it's old school effects work, but with new school technology. We've got digitally encoded radio controlled hitboxes so that we can put bullet hits on people without trailing wires. And also a lot of the explosive technology we use is not just common or garden bang stuff or black powder, it's all specialist made stuff that either we've designed and created ourselves or we've had specially made for us by companies that deal with modern explosives technology.
So we rigged this field in a way that it would just become a hellacious ballet of violence.
You've seen all the little red flags out there? All the little red flags show where the bullet hits will be going off, so that all of our stunts and extras, when they come running down the hill, won't actually stand on anything and get hurt. This is a good visual cue for them, and it also helps the camera know where to look when the hits start going off. There's 2 guys up on a table there, they have strikers. The first guy will be doing all the bullet hits in the lower field. The second guy in the blue shirt will be doing all the strikes on the raised banks above the paddies. The problem that we've got using the sort of bullet hits we've got laid out there is they're quite powerful. You wouldn't want to tread on them. Some of the bullet hits that we've laid into the raised bank are of soft material, but the ones in the lower ice paddy are quite hard hitters, which is why it's very important we lay all these flags out so that people can see where they're going to go. And we'll actually float them on the surface so that the stunt team can actually observe them as they run through the paddy and know where not to tread. And the first rehearsal showed us that the lower bank guys are very much aware of what's going on, but the upper bank guys are getting a little bit too carried away, not paying attention to where they're going, and they could actually end up treading on something that could hurt them quite seriously. So this is the benefit of the rehearsal, is it gives everybody a chance to see where they should and shouldn't be.
We have primer cord out there, script hits. The guys all have been instructed where to step, where not to step. Thanks to the effects guys, it's as long as everyone pays attention and hits their marks, it's very safe.
And it got to the point where it became so unnerving that we used Brian Tyler to employ a device such as very heartbreaking music and dropped out all the sounds of explosions and mines and grenades. It took on this almost tranquil, incredibly sad visual, a feeling that the audience could absorb the visual without the sound. The sound was driving them to the point, I think, of distraction. There's a limit. There's a governor on the brain where it just overloads, and this scene certainly pushed that button. These guys did a great job. Around the 8th day, we got a little bit of a break. I had to shoot the mercenaries running for their lives. They have a couple of the missionaries with them, but their leader has stepped on a mine and he's slowing them down, encumbered by his great bulk, which is being suspended on a stretcher. And this is where they hear Rambo's explosion. He fires off, Rambo fires off, or has another mercenary fire off a 50 caliber shot.
I'll fire it from over there. Okay. You look this way. You look at the camera from this angle. And come on. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, what was that? Boom. Shit. So you look and you start going. But you start like, come on. You know what I mean? Yeah. So as it's coming through, you're going to hear in the middle of your dialogue, boom. Yeah. So you're going to react.
So this is myself and, of course, the trusty crew setting up this shot, which would begin the actual final action sequence, starting small and building, hopefully, to a frenzied climax.
Action.
We're about a mile out. Come on, move. Take point. You take point.
Watch out.
Hold up. Under. Go.
Got it? Come on.
Go. Cut. Where do you end up, right here?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I end up right here. Oh, in the finish, yeah, on the over. Yeah, just there, exactly. And then,
Yeah, that's it. No, I don't need to see his eyes. Just a little bit, right there. Tim, look a little bit more to the right. Then back the other way. But extreme. Then back.
I should go like that? Oh.
I like that. Yeah. Now.
Louis, Graham, come on over.
Just take your head off and put it in this thing. See where you're at.
Chad?
I'll tuck them. Got it. Oh. Fucking hands are dead.
Go!
All right, I got it. Come on. Take it.
Come on, man.
Hold on.
Under.
You got it?
Come on.
Cut!
On day 11, it was when Rambo narrowly escapes the tall boy explosion. What we wanted here was an explosion of incredible magnitude, which is feasible. There had been a lot of feedback like, well, what kind of bomb could cause that explosion? Well, the ones they dropped in World War II that were really overkill, bunker busters, that actually landed, and some of them would be up to 25 feet long and would create a hole the size of a football field. So we thought, okay, let's have that there as kind of a symbol of the past. And so I did a stunt, and I get blown down the hill, and I do close-ups of it where I roll halfway down the hill, and of course I run right into a bamboo tree, which maybe later on we'll pick up on, but I got this spike into my bicep, and it looks like I'm walking around trying to flex, but this thing was so irritating. It was so like I had broken a vein or something. I knew that I was bleeding inside somewhere because I had never felt this kind of sensation before. But there'll be more to follow up on that. But so anyway, you run down the hill, you avoid an explosion, you don't get burned alive, and you run into a bamboo tree spike.
Look at that. That's not good.
Hey.
I don't know what that is.
That's the real doctor? You got the real doctor? So get the
It's
real
a
doctor.
hematoma or something.
You want a full pack?
Yeah.
Going down. You don't need to roll.
Yeah, it's all fake.
เดี๋ยวใส่ยาให้เมื่อกี้ใส่ไปรอบนึงแล้วค่ะใส่รอบนึงไหม
What is it?
It's no bleeding inside
Good. So it's like a just swelling. Like a
มันไม่มี
bruise.
มาคุมามันแทบมันแทบ
So Sly, you want all these wide?
No, no. We're gonna do that after. Swollen. But you're like that. He's shorter.
Right. He comes with that stuff, but you probably got to now step
Yeah.
out a lot.
So you're like.
Yeah. So same sort of long lens, right?
This is kind of a perplexing problem. It doesn't seem like much, which is the final kill. It's sort of the button that is pressed that signifies the end of the journey, at least the journey of violence, and you want to get it right. It seems very, very easy when it's put on film for the audience to appreciate or not, but either way, it brings about a lot of anxiety in the director to make sure that he's got the situation at the most advantageous angles, timing, and performance to convey the feeling that he's trying to get. So here's what's so funny about this. I had a fellow who did not speak in a word of English. He's Burmese, and he did a great job, and he's a very brave fellow to even do this because he put his life in jeopardy. And there were threats that his family back in Burma was going to be incarcerated. But he felt as though the message in the film needed to come out. Now, the way the tree is set up, there's a hill at the bottom of it, which creates about a 3-foot drop. So no matter what, we're never at the same angle. And the camera shooting down on him or shooting up on me creates a very, very distorted vision where either I'm 3 feet below him or he's 3 feet above me. But no matter what, it's never the right proportion. Then the tree itself is full of fire ants. So it's constantly being doused with gasoline, and it's creating havoc. And of course the gasoline sinks in, and the ants are pretty adamant to be in the scene, so they keep coming back. So they had to create a platform, dig down, and try to level the ground. It never worked, and I ended up being on 2x4s in a wood base built covered in dirt. Then there was the idea of how he was going to get stabbed with a knife. Now, he's never done this before. He was going to actually do it himself, and I was going to come at him pretty hard. I wasn't going to pull it as much as possible, anything. I was going to really try to slam it in there because it's, I don't know, it's just that kind of film. So I put a kind of a metal plate that's covered in thin foam so I could jam it into him. And I mean, I drove it in there. But he would try to do his best, but to his defense, he would look up at me and do different sort of different affectations with his face, which wasn't wrong. It was just his choice. But I wanted to do something that I felt would be cinematic, so his eyes would flick into a certain direction, and at the last second they would cruise over to me, which is extremely choreographed. It's not something you would do normally. This is not like a fellow who would actually be stabbed and would react. It is something he has to get hooked, looks down at the knife, and then his eyes drift over to his murderer, his attacker. It has to be done in a slow fashion. So we went over it and over it and over it, and then I shot it from 4 different angles, extremely wide. I thought, should we actually see Rambo before the soldier sees him? And it's a really stark, wide shot, and the tree is looming in the foreground, and there we are, like two insignificant creatures among the size in nature. The tree, the hill, the landscape is so overwhelming, and here we are, basically no more civilized than the ants that are in that tree, just combative, and the only thing that separates us from them is an ideal, fighting for an ideal. But we're basically as savage as the surroundings. So, as the scene went on, and I thought I could get it under control, it's just there is something inside of me that said it's not primal enough, it's not primitive enough. This should be an actual depiction of the rage and the horror that these Burmese have gone through, and Rambo is, we used to call him like Dog of Raw, is the god of war. He's going to exact vengeance without any mercy, and the final cap on it would be not just to eviscerate him, which I had never seen done before. I mean, literally cut him in half, but the way he's kicked is with such disdain, and to have his entrails pinwheel out. I said, it's a commitment to an act of violence that I believe is warranted, but very, very hard for the faint of heart to take. But that's war.
This is literally just, we're now here. The kick. I know I turned the wrong way, but it's real.
The kick was great.
Better?
Yeah.
Oh, you kicked it? I couldn't see that.
The kick was great.
The kick, I mean, it's like, fuck you.
Yeah,
I mean, he went down over there. And you'll have blood. That to me is
I didn't see any of that.
oh no, it was like fucking brutal. Right? That was best hit too.
That's what it is. That's holding your best friend's entrails in. That's looking down and seeing a stump where your leg used to be, or your friend's head was. I mean, I don't want to get overly dramatic like I'm doing a scene from First Blood, but that's what it is. And the only thing that kind of kept me a little bit on an even keel here, because I was extremely nervous, is my family showed up. And here I had these little ducks, which my daughter is in this incredible environment. Here I am, covered in blood, and a bullet hole in me saying, hey, let's take a family photo. This will really fly during Christmas. Hi, wish you were here. Hi, Santa, come on. Frosty the Snowman, get any closer and I'll behead you. No, This is where it looks like the man will eat the reindeers for Christmas. Not exactly a cute and fuzzy picture, but at least they were there and they saw what their father did for a living. And I thought the irony of it was pretty incredible.
All right, ready? There we go. Looks good. Thailand. Looks great.
Hello, everyone. If you're still awake, we're at day 16 in the ongoing odyssey of putting together a very, very difficult film, at least physically. Mentally, it was off the chart because it was a little much. Anyway, I was saying before that I had gotten an injury with a head-on collision with a spike on a bamboo tree. And people said, oh, what are you complaining about? It's just a little nick. And I said, I'm telling you, this is going to be an ongoing adventure, and we're going to go completely Technicolor, my brother. And this is a couple of days later, so let me just show you the result.
Ready? The continuing saga of the bamboo puncture from that incredible explosive jump scene. Just I'll let everyone know it's still growing. We're doing great. We just want to do a daily monitoring of the fake makeup. Yeah, wrong. So let you know that this is what is known as a Rambo kiss. Good luck. Good luck. Anyway, we'll tune in tomorrow and see. Maybe we'll reach the elbow. Okay. Ciao.
So be careful with raw bamboo. If you see a piece of bamboo coming towards you in an alley, run. Here we are on the set where I thought, let me try something a little different again. And this is where a truckload of people, soldiers, Burmese, are coming towards me. I've been seriously wounded, but I want to turn the weapon on them point blank, again, right through nature, and take it to them in a way that I personally have never seen before, without any slow motion, without any cool angles, without anything that would smack of acute cinematography, just flat out a brutal decimation of these fellows who are about to unleash hell on the underprepared and underarmed Karen soldiers. So in a frenzy, I thought that Rambo would build up to this point. What I was trying to do at this point, that this was a build-up and a kind of symphonic crescendo of violence. The entire attack was taking place in the bullets and the sounds and building up to a crescendo where this was the last, or second to the last beat before the final crashing of the cymbals, the final apex of the movement, of the cacophony that is bullets and bombs and whatever, finally ending with the bazooka taking out the boat. But so the sound of this was just as important in the rhythm of it as the actual visual.
111.5 degrees, which is a lot warmer than it was yesterday. I mean, no, actually, it's cooler. It's.
See that?
Yeah.
I won't be focused
What do
on
we
your
have?
head, I promise.
Excuse me, that's the same horrible shot.
But not the
What
same
are you
horrible
doing?
person.
No, but I'm going to see the trees go down here.
That's just tight one.
Hopefully I'll see flame on the bottom of my frame.
What's that?
No, this was the horrible shot. It was like this.
Remember, Jill, it was actually a great shot.
Well, the horrible shot was directly in the back of my head.
They're trying to coordinate this shot. Again, it was very nerve-wracking because we had trees that were made to be cut down, but the first time we shot them, the trees did not cut down because someone had put a bit of rebar in the middle, so the things were just too damn strong. Then we had 6 cameras on this, and the truck was having a difficulty pulling up and hitting the proper mark. And then I wanted to come up in a very unnatural position from the position I was in when I was shot in the film, which is a one-arm leap up, swing around, and fire. But if you can see, the truck is on a downward slant, so it was going against, it was hard enough to pull it up and look cool anyway, but you're pulling against gravity. So you're trying to coordinate all these aspects on film, which may be taken for granted, but they're not, because you have a vision. And quite often your vision, you start at 100%, and then you settle for like 35%. Because you're dealing with nature and terrain and heat and bugs and people's personalities and budgetary restraints, man, you better hope that gun fires because you don't have enough money to do it a second time.
Action!
So the gun worked. It was incredibly powerful, but it literally ripped up the road that was, even though there's no bullets in it, just the power, the force, the volume of air and heat and fire being pushed out of that muzzle was just tearing up the surface to where it literally created a cloud. So now we had another dilemma. How do you see the action, fire the gun, without creating this dust storm? And the answer was dousing the soil with tons of water, oil, patting the ground solid, and just hope for the best. This situation is really rough. I mean, I lost my patience a lot because there was so much difficulty in coordinating these pigs, and they were so dangerous. These things were no joke, and they continued to just procrastinate.
Push him in.
Gotta get more food, goddammit.
More food, goddammit! Tammy, we need more food!
No sled.
I'll tell you, next time I ask you for food, I want it here. Make it right here. You're costing me an hour a day running around for food. Now come in here and get the dishes.
The actress is tied up in a pen, and we're trying to keep the pigs there, and they're not getting it, and the pigs need to have food. So I said, just I'll do it myself. Let's make the food, keep it there, and we'll take the dishes and bury them in the mud, so they're kind of focused in that area. So let's stop procrastinating. And this is the stuff that drives you absolutely nuts, because you would think that a big battle scene would be the one that consumes most of your time, but it's the little things like this that if you don't get in there and actually demonstrate it yourself, sometimes it just takes forever. I mean, this is not something you can talk about sitting in your motorhome trying to convey to a first AD, to a second AD, to a third AD, then talks to the pig wrangler who gets it. You just, sometimes it's better just to go out there and do it yourself. So I might sound a little impatient, but I understand what the actor or actresses are going through. So finally we get it, and Julia's tied up in this pig pen, and we're rolling. And a few of these pigs that I cannot emphasize how unpredictable and strong and dangerous they are. They broke through the fence and started to approach her.
Before the double.
He won't bother you. He won't bother you.
Not to the point where they were on her and going to tear her to pieces, but they were making advances. They were curious, and she's tied up for real, because she's one of these actresses that insisted on playing it authentically. And by the time that she got out of that pig pen, she was, I would say, definitely a vegetarian forever. I don't think she was going to be ordering ham and eggs for a long, long time.
Cut.
Fail state.
Are you scared?
Alright, we good here over in the cage?
Unless she tastes like bananas, she's not going to bite you. Yeah, they do. It takes a while. Sorry, I had to work with you. Good job.
I know.
Good job. Good job.
And I'm sorry I got scared. Yes, the pig came right after me. Yeah, but yeah. It's not funny. You try being tied up and have a pig come after you.
Okay, that's off.
Who else has the camera over here who's not using it? Right here.
This is not exactly probably the most exciting footage that anyone will see, not at all, but again, it depicts what the actual Karen women go through. They're kept in cages, they're fed scraps, they're used as, sex toys for whatever perversion, and then eventually they're just, taken out to the river and drowned. And the men that you see here, the ones playing the soldiers, these men were under incredible threats. I know I received many death threats when I was there, and I don't even know how they got through all the security, but there would be these telephone calls in the middle of the night saying, you better not make this movie, or you'll wake up dead, kind of a thing, in a broken accent. But all these people here, it's one thing for me to have to come home, but these people, they put on a brave face and try to entertain themselves, but every one of them was under heavy, heavy pressure, because, make no mistake about it, the Burmese secret police is all over Thailand, and they know exactly who was in this film. I couldn't get any Burmese for the first month. No one wanted to play this part. I had to use Thais. And I said, I can't do it. I want to use real Karen, real Burmese. And it took a lot of coaxing to get them out there. So I give these people a tremendous amount of credit for being brave.
Well, with that
This is not so interesting other than what can go wrong, will go wrong. We had decided on the entire camp would be attacked by myself and the mercenaries at night, but in the rain, because I thought the rain just creates a dramatic background that's tough to beat and would theoretically hide any sounds that you would be making instead of just dry branches and cracking this and just hearing the breathing. You basically couldn't hear anything during this deluge, but I wanted to be a light mist anyway. The light mist machine never made it, and what it came was the monsoon machine, and it was my mistake because I didn't expect it to be that heavy, so I asked the lights to be on one side and it just wasn't working, so it had to be backlit. In other words, everything went wrong.
Yeah, slide. It looks different from over here. I understand, but we're not backlighting everything. But this is like no good. Fucking horrible.
Getting there at 6 o'clock, we probably didn't get our first shot until 12 o'clock, and then we didn't have enough water, so we started borrowing hoses from fire departments, sprinkler machines, you name it, and then eventually had to add a little bit CGI and whatever to make it all work. But this was a long, wet night. You know what? Next time, when you hear rain, pity those people that are standing in it, because it's extremely difficult to work in. Extremely difficult to work in. Because between every take, you're soaked down, you have to clear up the water, you have to reload the tanks, you have to position everyone once again, the equipment gets wet, there are special lenses that have to be used, and then you have to think about, believe it or not, the actual acting.
Okay, so let's get everybody on this side of the road. Nobody back in the woods there. Get everybody on this side of the road, even by the Hungnam. Everybody on this side of the road. Sly's board. It's gonna shoot some arrows. And I'm nervous.
I guess you could call this time for a little comic relief. Unintentional, because the director gets bored. The director eventually needs a little outlet, and I think if you play the character long enough, you start to say to yourself, I wonder if I could do this. And let me just take a few arrows and shoot them around while we're setting up, and it'll while away the time, because you know your lines, you know pretty much what you're going to do. The actors are all prepared. Now you're just filling the spaces. You're just trying to pass the time until you can just get on with the project. So here I am, pretending I'm not bad with a bow, but I'm sure people could have lived without being so close to the proximity of the arrows. I mean, William Tell, I'm not. Robin Hood, your reputation is safe.
I'd like to go on record saying this is our prop guy who's giving me stick-proof arrows. I want to try one more. If it doesn't work,
We go to the truck and get the real arrows.
we're doing William Tell, part 2.
You see, where I started having fun with the prop master, Ken Johnson, who I've done a million films with, and he's incredibly anal. We used to call him EBOA, E-B-O-A, eager beaver overachiever. And he gave me what is known as field arrows, so that they're not the lethal hunting bow tips. And it's embarrassing because I'm hitting the target, but because of the wide field tips, they're not sticking in the teak wood, which is a little bit softer than cement. So I thought I'd just be goofing with him, saying, okay, next time you miss, you're going to become, the human target. So this is, again, me just having a Rambo moment with a good buddy of mine.
Rambo. Better change the name to Ram. No. I can't even stick an arrow, and the aim isn't bad. I would say the equipment.
I gave him one more chance. I said, okay, I'm going to shoot this into a soft tree. Hit the tree flat on, dead center, and it falls out. And I can't tell you the expression on this fella's face. He was having a nervous breakdown. even though it was all good, well intended. It was just, I guess the camera made him nervous. Anyway, I became, as he says, wham whoa. Now, for you out there that think I've lost my mind and I'm shooting near people, please take into account there's no people near me when I'm pulling the bow back. The background is empty, and I'm shooting up at this empty tower where it's just hundreds and hundreds of empty acre behind. Everyone is on the other side of a fence except for me and the prop master, who is totally safe, especially with my aim. The safest place to be is to stand in front of me.
That's a dick. Right there.
Right there.
We were preparing for Rambo to slip into the military village, and where they're bivouacked, and I'm going upriver, and this water is not exactly clean, so I kept thinking that if I ever make it out of this, my entire chromosome structure is going to be quite different.
It's true. I have a feeling that about 10 years from now, I'm going to grow like an antler here from all the pollution in this water. It's actually messed with my DNA. I'll be probably half a reindeer or something.
And
I
you'll
know
think those were the days of Chiang Mai.
really, if I had a child after this, it definitely would be born with antlers and like 3 legs. This
Come up
thing
with
has
a nice
messed up
Thai
my
name for
DNA.
it.
And also in that water, there's snakes and centipedes and things that you just don't see. You know, cockroaches the size of bedroom slippers and mosquitoes that fly away with dogs. You've never seen anything quite like it. So you have to maintain some sense of humor, but we're always catching something, you know, like little baby cobras, centipedes. Like I said, centipedes are the ones that really bother me the most. They just have that certain mystique about them. So anyway, this is us putting together the scene before we put the rain on, just mapping out the actual journey that Rambo takes upriver to get to the Major's house and then find Sarah. Another difficulty, you see people moving through water and trying their utmost to be graceful. Quite often the bottom of these streams are uneven, so you'll go from 3 feet to 5 feet to 2 feet back and forth, and you'll be stumbling around. Next thing you know, you're tripping over your own feet. So the bottom had to be sculpted out so we could follow a pattern underneath the bridge, so the camera could track along at a smooth rate and create the illusion that you're just gliding through the enemy. There's no hiccups. There's no bump in the action whatsoever. So all this has to be manufactured, plus the equipment now has to be waterproofed, covered in plastic. There's just a lot of preparation that would go into a scene that maybe lasts 6 seconds on film. It may take 10 hours just to accomplish that or more.
Right. Either I've grown an 11th toe or something is swimming in my boot.
Hey.
It's just a constant tug of war with nature here. The rain comes. Sometimes it's advantageous because I love it, but at times like this, it just brings this crew, which is close to 550 people, to a total standstill, and you sit there, and before you know it, half your sets are blown away, and you know the equipment is caught in mud, but it's just another day in the jungle.
Now, how long do you think this is going to last?
On and off all night till 5 a.m.
All night?
And it was raining at the office hard, and it's not raining anymore there. It's raining here.
But they think it's going to come back again?
It flew all the way over here. It's going to go on and on tonight.
At least the wind stopped.
Yeah, I love your optimism.
There's no wind. This is great.
Still here.
You know how much we pay to have our rain machines?
This and I said this to a lot of the people that joined on, I said, this is kind of more than a movie. This is like an adventure. This is one of those survival camps that it's a one-off. If you get through this, you'll make some very good relationships. Some will last, some won't. But the one thing is that you can be very proud that you went through the trials and tribulations of making a movie that just cut you no slack. Every day was tough.
Oh, yeah, we got it. We got it.
John Rambo. Signing out.
Here we are at day 30, and this is when it starts to become even more and more difficult, because here time is not on your side, and nor is money. So this is a scene which I think is extremely important in a historical sense, that you get an idea of what these people are all about, that they come in the middle of the night, and this is a fact, and steal children, young men, take them away, you never see them again, 12, 13, 14, turn them into killing machines, and that's the way it is. And if you bother to fight them back, they'll literally nail your insides to a tree. So this was supposed to be a 3-day scene. It's a night scene. It's very involved. There's a couple hundred people in there. So I thought, no problem whatsoever. I have all of one night to do this. So I thought, how can I do this in a sense and make this visceral? So the first thing is that no camera could be mounted on anything other than a man's shoulder. This would be a form of eavesdropping on the situation. So we're a fly on the wall rather than being in the epicenter. We're on the fringes looking in, as though we're observing the action, but we can drift away and escape it if we had to. We're not in the center of it. And I enjoy scenes like that where it's not so self-evident to the audience. In other words, I'm not playing to the audience. I am trying to actually show the audience not as much as they would be expecting to see. They're just getting a hint of it, flurry. Kind of like what you see in life when you're passing by on a train. You look out the train window and you see it whipping by at 60, 70 miles an hour. You really don't focus on anything. It's just a series of images, but you get an idea of what's going on.
You're dragging one from there, in that area.
Okay.
Dragging one from over there.
One. Okay, you get one more
And one back down there.
through that crevice, and you want them all thrown into one truck?
No, 3 into that truck, 2 in this truck. The furthest one, you just go
Just make sure
here,
that's
going there.
And let's get a
these are
couple of
going
the
there.
extra children already on the truck.
Yeah, the trucks are half full.
The hard part was to get the Karen, who are the real deal in this scene, the authentic participates in these Burmese atrocities. These are the refugees that happen to have made it over. All of them have lost people, in quite often very violent manners. And they're asked to reenact their worst horror. And this wasn't such an easy task at first. So, especially with the language barrier. There are no ties here. These are all Burmese. Everyone's speaking Burmese, speaking Karen. The interpreters are there. This is about as authentic as I can make it. Now the soldiers come in with a vengeance, and again, this is pretty much documented through first-hand observations, witnesses that survived, how it happens. And then the words that the Major uses at the very end is words I actually took from transcript. So that's not me trying to wax poetic or put in my own philosophy. This is what he would actually say. So this scene took place. We got there around 6:30 at night. I think we were rolling by 10, and we were done at sunup. But just to get all the moving parts going, the women screaming, the other women having their children taken apart, the young men being put on trucks, the soldiers just expressing their brutality, the language barrier, the heat, the mosquitoes. I'm very, very proud of everyone. But this was really quite an experience to get this done in one night. It really was. Yeah. And sometimes, and I say it to film students, that quite often you don't have enough money, enough time, you get something that's even more precious, which is honesty and vitality, and a sense of realism rather than self-conscious mannerisms.
Putting people in the truck.
Big one, C cam.
I believe this is day 32, and it's a fun day because I finally get to use my bow. And I've always enjoyed using the bow because it just, there's something, you've heard it before, it was zen about it, but the fact that Rambo has been so proficient at it, and it harkens back to his, quote, German Indian ancestry, which is a real interesting combination to put together.
Because normally they don't have black notches on these things. I hear like they don't have black notches. They'll have yellow ones. So it's black, and the string is black. It's like, where is it? Look at it. That's how you got to get on the string.
The hard part in getting this down was the actual entrance to get it properly, and then actually get the bow lined up, notched properly, and release the arrow with some sort of finesse, because you are moving, and archery is an extremely precise maneuver. Now, not that I actually was in a tournament and had to hit a bullseye, but I just wanted to look smooth, because I wanted to be in a wide shot also, so you see him appear in the background. Anyway, we had a great time. The bow flew true. We actually set up some dummies that would be 75 and 80 yards down there, maybe even further. We'd see how close we could come with the arrows, and some of them actually came damn close. So I said, all right, I may not be Robin Hood, but it's feasible that this actually could happen. So we had a great time with this, and I look forward on every Rambo to actually get to use the bow, and finally it came to fruition. So now the rest of it, as for my basketball prowess, well, that remains to be seen.
You're about as good as Shaq. You got it.
Someone have a torpedo? A small one.
Well, everyone, shooting on the river is, like you've heard before, very, very difficult for the currents, and just getting the boats lined up. And the boat that we're using is actually about 120 years old. It already caught on fire twice because they decided to put an engine down at the bottom, and it just didn't work because there's no ventilation. And so myself and the mercenaries had to be towed in twice because the boat nearly burnt up. Thank God it's so hard, the wood, that it didn't just go up, say, like pine. It's just very, very difficult, wet, hard wood. And anyway, we're motoring along, and we're doing some of the scenes, but the main thing is you start to get a little punchy out in the river, and I thought, try to keep spirits up. You just try to keep it light, try to keep the jokes going. Otherwise, it can get a little frustrating, because you do spend, believe it or not, maybe 12 to 14 hours on that little boat with maybe a bathroom break, which is not much more than jumping over the side and back into the boat. It's good. I mean, it's it's good training for something. I'm not exactly sure what, but it breeds patience. You better learn some patience and get a sense of humor. My God. I've never worked with such a lame group of actors in my life. Oh, they're armed. I'm sorry, I didn't know they were here. I thought I was alone in my hotel room, just musing on a thought.
Yeah. Just in costume in your hotel room.
Just in costume. These are actually my pajamas. You think I'm, you know, see, I'll be like 90 years old and I'll be opening up supermarkets, all whizzing. Like the headband is now down to here. Remember, like the Lone Ranger? Can I still have my mask? No, you can't have your mask anymore. Like, oh, poor guy hasn't had a job in 40 years. He needs his mask. I don't know if you're in England. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. But so the Lone Ranger is like now is like 80 years old. And his name was Clayton Moore, and he'd go around to just open up supermarkets as the Lone Ranger, and you know, be all like whizzing. And whoever owned the rights to this character said, you can't use the mask anymore. So without the mask, you know, you look like Father Time. It's like Bela Lugosi. I'm sorry, you can't use the fangs, the cape, nothing. Yeah. So just show up as you. Oh, that was bad.
Look at this. There's you on Rambo, right? You got the headband.
I'm going as Alone Stallone. It's like two of this.
Wear that headband. Have your flashback moment.
I'm gonna go like Gumbo, like no teeth. Gumbo.
Welcome to Rambo.
Gumbo. When I first went to Thailand about 6 months earlier, I wanted to get involved with the cobras, the snakes, that he was a snake hunter, because there are more poisonous snakes in Thailand and Burma than any place on the planet. I believe there's something like 95 poisonous snakes, about 92 of them live there. It's something extraordinary. Don't hold me to those numbers, but that's the symbol of these countries. There's always a snake involved. So I got to work with these snakes, and I got to work with the actual snake wranglers, or the people that call them snake charmers. And you learn certain things about the snake, on how to maneuver and tap them on the head, and keep one hand going and one hand distracting them. But I got fairly decent at it. But I wouldn't recommend this. Matter of fact, I think I'm insane. I wouldn't do it today. It's just like in Cliffhanger. I hated heights. By the end of the movie, I'm sitting on the edge of a cliff having lunch. So it's the situation where you become sort of immune to the fear, and this is one of those times. Then again, if you're thinking about getting a snake, I recommend a Labrador or something else that doesn't put you in your grave. It's a little easier. A little easier at the house break a dog than one of these, trust me. What am I doing? Okay, nature lovers, this is for real. The snakes that you see are for real. Their teeth have not been pulled. The venom has been milked a few hours earlier, so if one does get bitten, it'll send you to the hospital. If you have a bad heart, it may send you even further than the hospital. But you have a pretty good chance of surviving. It's dangerous, but it's not as dangerous as going out and finding a full-fledged, completely loaded up cobra than this particular one, which has been maybe diluted a little bit, but still quite potent. The smaller cobras are actually more dangerous than the big ones. Their bites are much more lethal. The big cobra will kill you. Actually, a cobra bite, a big cobra bite, has been known to kill an elephant. It may take 2 days for the venom to get in there, but believe it or not, they've been known to kill an elephant. So, on that note, we move around in a way with these creatures to try to create a sense of reality. And I wanted to, again, do something that hadn't been seen on film, where there's no CGI, there is no trick photography, and there's no rubber snakes. Those are the real deal. They bring them there, and they coil in this grass, and quite often they're tough to get out. So you have to be delicate with them and not rip them out. Otherwise, they can come out the other side and turn on you so fast you wouldn't believe it. It's when people say, "Oh, you can outrun a snake." No, you can't. No, you can't. You just have to slightly outmaneuver them. And right here, I'm working with professionals that sort of have my back a little bit, or a lot. But I really love doing this. It's you gotta be quick with them, and they wrap around your body. They are something else, and the strength of it. Yeah, there you go. Boom. Just got to keep the head under control and get them that sack real fast. We had a few more of these in the beginning, but I edited out of the movies because I thought, one or two. Actually, I put a second one in the director's cut. Sometimes a snake here, they just get, they'll lull. They'll it seems like they're tired, and they won't be as aggressive. Then suddenly, wham! Where does that come from? They're very interesting. They become hypnotized and in their own zone, and then when they come back, you better be ready. But overall, I enjoyed it. It's one of those one-time things, if you know what I mean. Pull. Oh my God, I got the whole family.
Yeah, it's a family deal.
Here we are around day 42, and I got a chance to meet a couple of real live missionaries. I had made contact with this fellow who was a police officer, I believe from Oklahoma, but this is what he actually does. He's a sincere, passionate Christian believer in trying to help his fellow man. So he and his family actually go behind enemy lines 150 kilometers into fields laden and forests laden with landmines to bring the word to the Christian Karens at the expense of his life. And he brings his children with him, and they do it just about every year. Everyday people funded by their local church. And I just thought it's pretty amazing that these people actually exist. And so the characters that we have in the film, like Julie and the other missionaries, they're real people, and they're right in front of you, right here.
Bye now. Bye.
God bless.
Bye.
Hey.
Live, right, live. Live, right, live. Live, right, live.
Here we go. This is just a little taste of what it's like to see the men start to march out to the field. It was like an ongoing battle. Some days I would show up on the set, driving there, and I would see what was like a military operation. You see a couple hundred soldiers, you see weaponry, and the opposing forces, the Karen soldiers say, "Okay, Sly, what are you going to do today?" And this is where it's really important to have a good team behind you like Chad, who would set up all the proper necessary stunts, and then we would choreograph the battles.
So this is a hand pulley ratchet system, and basically what's going to happen is that when that big mortar goes off, bomb, we're going to hand pull him and yank him off his feet about 20 feet as if he got blown up.
But this is a complete group effort, and the stuntman approached it with a sense of humor and professionalism.
Unbelievable. There's a finger in my pocket.
Hey, let's come over and pop some corn.
Sometimes it's just a wonder to behold, because you actually are seeing like a reenactment of a scene that you dreamed about, and here it is coming to maturity before your eyes. And thankfully with the help of other professionals who can deliver at least part of your vision, because trust me, no man's an island in this business. You have to depend upon your support team, otherwise you will go down for the count.
Look.
The end is almost in sight, but what I like about days like this is I don't necessarily have to act, so I get a chance to focus on the other actors. And scenes like this present a challenge because they are, I think, the heart and soul of a film. Violence and action is relatively simple to the violence and action and the emotions in the heart. How do you bring those to the surface without seeming presumptuous or too precious or pretentious or any of the other P's? It's just it's not easy, but I think it's necessary. It's a gamble, but I try to again keep the set a little light. I'm always joking, like with Paul here. I'm always joking about his running ability, because he's not exactly a halfback. Again, trying to waylay the nerves that are building, knowing it's the final scene. Everyone gets extremely anxious when they're approaching the final scene. At least that's what I've come to understand. So we know what we have to do. You're prepared. There's no reason to sit around and mood up and mope up until the time is right for you to step up and do your job. So again, I'm just trying to keep the set a little bit of little energy going.
I know, it's great. How much coddling can I give you?
The word is that
How much? Only because the other girl was busy, you got this fucking job.
It's only going to get worse. Here.
Kate Blanchett was busy this weekend.
Now, this is called an actress reduction.
You're gonna come in the land. I need this crap out of the way here, guys.
Okay.
This stuff's gotta go.
Okay.
This part of the shot.
Then there's that moment of frustration when you're ready to do the shot and you discuss the shot, and someone just decided, because of language barriers, to lay down, a couple of tons of equipment right in your visual lineup. So here we go, more time, and clock is ticking. What I really respect about the acting profession, here I will be discussing with Julie one of the more difficult scenes in the movie, which is the culmination of her awakening, that she realizes that her ideals are not what she has been led to believe, that violence runs very, very deep in the heart, and quite often it's not about believing in the hereafter, and it's believing in the here and now, and that is a brutal truth and a brutal reality. And that's what Rambo was trying to tell her, that sometimes God doesn't handle everything, or if he does it. He sometimes sends his own warriors to do his bidding for him. Whatever it is, she's a different person than when she arrived, and to maintain that kind of focus and try to understand and put all that together while everyone is speaking at the same time and there's chaos going around you, and in the very end no one's going to know that. It's just you, the camera, the audience, and the moment, and everything else be damned. No one's going to take into account that they were screaming over here, or there was chaos there, or there was someone in your sight line. You just have to deliver. A lot of these scenes, like with Julie running through the mayhem, is just constructed on the spot. I sometimes use storyboards, but quite often I end up never using them at all. I mean, in other words, I see them in the office, but by the time I get to the set, something happens where it is a whole new blueprint that formulates, at least to my mind, and I sort of try to use the spur of the moment to get a little vitality and a little spontaneity. I don't recommend that all the time, because in situations where precision is absolutely necessary, it's not a very wise thing to do. But in the chaos and frenzy and the malicious aftermath of war, where there is no structure, and smoke is blowing in odd directions and his body's askew, you can take, at least I feel as though you can take an opportunity to not be so precise, and the crudeness actually adds to the a realistic fabric, for lack of a little pretentious, but it's really, it does it. It just adds a kind of an aura of truth, rather than just have a camera on, let's say, dolly tracks, which I always wondered about. Dolly tracks in the jungles, that's a whole different kind of movie. I'm going, Jesus, every time I walk through the jungle, it's like a leg breaker. And I watch Julie running up and down in chaos. To put dolly tracks in there, it would just be too serene for such a rough moment. So once the characters finally do come into each other's presence, now the real delicate moments start. Are we going to be truthful? Is it going to be funny? Is it going to we sense a false beat? Because there's a lot going on. She's seeing the mayhem, the death around her. He's seeing her, who he thought he had lost and was dead, and now they've been reunited. But she sees that Rambo was right, and he looks at her in a condemning fashion. But in this cut, you see a light go on, that he's going to miss her, that she represented a kind of purity and an optimism that had been sorely lacking in his life. So it's quite different than the original ending. This is what I wanted to do originally and should have done it, so at least I have an opportunity to insert Rambo and Sarah's farewell looks and intentions.
Cut!
We are the last day, and it has been a wonderful, wonderful shoot.
Frivolity abounds.
Frivolity abounds. It's day 51 of 50. Day 51 of 50 shooting days.
Which qualifies for the new math. I think it's very bittersweet. I actually do.
I think people are tired, but I think that we've also had a wonderful time, and it's always hard to let a wonderful time end.
I think this movie's really working on this movie has really affected people in many ways, and I think it's an experience that we all will remember as being a very special time, a very special project. And I'm sad it's ending, but I'm looking forward to bed and sleep.
And you know, as the days have gone by, I think people's the depth of the impression that Sly made on everyone continues, if it was possible, to actually grow.
I just want to say how hard Sly has worked on this. The effort he's put in is Herculean, an unbelievable job. I'm not just saying that. There's very few people that work as hard as he did.
Watching him work and his level of commitment to this film has inspired me to be more committed as an actor to every project and every role that I take on. And, you know, very rarely do you get to work with somebody who operates at such a high level of intensity and commitment and drive and passion. And you know, I really hope it does, the effect stays with me.
And I take my hat off to him, and I really truly believe this is going to be a great movie.
It's day 51, and maybe this is the last time we'll ever see Rambo again, and I must admit it's been an extraordinary journey. Where very rarely do you get the chance to push oneself to what you think is your physical capabilities, but even more important, to be able to share that with people you love, and to know that it'll be around long after you're gone. So here's to all of you. Keep fighting the good fight. Never give up. Never give out. Never give in. Goodbye.
And your expression is, you know, you look back and like just not even like you just look like it's just 2 seconds, like you're looking back and then back to the guy. Okay, ready? Go up to Paul. Okay, Paul. All right, let's not get over dramatic again. Paul, go. Back. Excuse me.
Sorry.
I can fry eggs on that fucking look.
Okay.
Okay, let's go. Ready? Go up to Paul. Action. Oh my God. Again.
Okay.
Just look.
All right,
and
Paul.
back. Ready? Action. All right, now do it. Cut that in half and we got it. Ready? Go. Cut.
I told you, man. That 6th time is the fucking charm.